Hello, let's turn this into a bit of a two-way conversation, shall we? Here's some of the things you've said. I read your comments, especially the hurtful ones, and thank you for keeping me grounded. This one comes from SP4DE69. How can folk like Russell, who spend so much time intelligently contemplating life, be so very naive? What shred of evidence is there in all human history that we might be able to just scurry off and form our own peaceful communities without anyone interfering? I wasn't suggesting scurrying off. I was never going to scurry. I was going to stride boldly off. As calming as non-violent sounds, it does sound literally calming, it's impossible to have the freedoms we have today without it. I suppose violence is what SPD4D69 means. It baffles me how Russell and others like him fail to understand the level at which the government military are protecting them. There are actual psychopaths in this world leading communities and countries that would kill you and take everything you have before you can say, let's talk about this. Well, you're probably right, mate. There are probably some crazy people in the world. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not advocating an abandonment of law and order. What I'm interested in is decentralisation. That centralisation has always benefited the people at the top of hierarchies from agriculture onward. Even though with the advent of agriculture you can produce more food, the people whose diet improves, whose conditions improve, are the people at the top of that hierarchical pyramid. I would say that this tendency has increased exponentially throughout history. Who benefits from there being a centralised power, for example, in the United States of America? Transnational corporations and people at the top of the economic pyramid. What's the reality for ordinary people? Now, while you may always need some kind of centralised response to, say, for example, international terror or judicial police and community matters, which are obviously being radically reviewed even as we speak because of the observable tendency of those law enforcement agencies to target in distinct ways different groups, specifically obviously in America the black community. We're not seeing enough change. We're not seeing enough change. The reason I'm interested obviously in the Black Lives Matter movement is obviously one, because I'm interested and attracted to justice, but also because I feel that it could be the opening, an aperture through which we see a reevaluation of institutions that are not only symptomatic of injustice, like say law enforcement, but the actual producers of injustice, like financial and economic institutions. If you change them, if you can regulate them. So, you know, you need a degree of confederacy, you need a degree of cooperation if you're ever going to confront that kind of power. But what I'm saying is, essentially, people should be able to control their own communities. And yeah, I would suggest that there is a way of responding if one of these psychopaths from your comment were to march into town in a tank or on horseback. Johnny Wisdom, talking about our Chaz or Chop video. Lol Russell, I think you extremely biased here. They have not changed a thing. First, that takes people's land and business by force. Then they erect physical and ideological borders. Then they divide people by race. Did they do that? Demanding white folk give money to black folk. The whole thing is a clusterfuck of hypocrisy and nihilism. I don't know, I've not been there. But at some point, if we do want to see any kind of social change, it's going to involve conflagration, it's going to involve some degree of conflict. Will it? Or will it be more like a parting of the ways? Will it be people drifting off into new communities? I wonder, mate. I really don't know the answer. But I think it's always worth remembering when we're talking about change that the conditions that a lot of people currently face, let's even look outside of Western Anglophonic democracies. If you're living in the Congo mining iPhone materials, like that type of copper that's needed for Apple products or whatever, you're already in a place that would radically benefit from serious change. So what I'm saying is that let's remember that the current system is full of nihilism and hypocrisy, and that for some people, even modest improvements would be significant. I'm talking about if you regard the change that's required as global rather than just sort of particular to our type of countries. Although, you know, it would be nice to think that if a community is taken over, it's being run fairly. But how would we really know what's going on in Chaz or Chop? What kind of reporting's going on there? Sharon Massey, talking about the anxiety lockdown video, says, the lockdown has shown me that contact with other people is highly overrated. That is a fair comment. Don't you think sometimes that we're designed to live in smaller communities, interacting over the course of a lifetime with perhaps 100 to 150 people, living harmoniously with nature, still incorporating technology, not ignoring the advances that have been made, but finding a way to harmonise with our own inner nature and our external nature. We are products of this environment. We are this environment, living in constant synchronicity and synergy, symbiosis with this environment, rather than living as detached automatons floating around on a sea of distracting consumerist nonsense. Thanks for your comments. If you have any more questions for me or inquiries, or perhaps, deranged insults, feel free to leave them. Give us a follow. Let me know what you'd like to see videos on. Look out for, just stay in touch with me. And you could join the mailing list. Go to russellbrand.com and sign up for that to receive additional content and the opportunity to attend live online events. Thank you.